Hello, everyone. It's Braulio Rosa, Executive Director of the Broward County Bar Association. It is March 2022, and the Broward County Bar Association, in conjunction with the 17th Judicial Circuit, is celebrating Women's History Month. It is my honor and privilege to be interviewing our admin circuit judge, Carol-Lisa Phillips. Judge Phillips, welcome.
Welcome. Hello, Braulio. Nice to be here.
Thank you for being with me. So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what it was like.
Well, I grew up right here. I grew up in out west of Broward, and then we moved to east to the city of Fort Lauderdale. And so I grew up and down all of these streets and all over town, and attended school from pre-kindergarten through high school, and then went to college in the state of Florida.
What was it like growing up in Florida back in the 80s, somewhere in there?
Sure, that's a good one.
Yeah, right? Well, I'm an 80s kid, so I'm assuming, Your Honor, that you fall in there too, or somewhat. Maybe you're a 90s kid.
90s.
Kid.
No.
Right.
Okay. No, it was great growing up here. We had a great life, and I grew up riding bicycles, swimming all the time, and boating, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that you were able to get away with when you were a child. Nowadays, your parents were able to kind of turn you loose back then, and now you have to watch over them all the time.
Yeah, I remember growing up in California. We thought Florida's like the super cool place. You see, it was like people partying, but also all the outdoors things, swimming, the beach.
But wait, you grew up in California. Aren't you doing the same thing? And you guys had the mountains and the water, too.
True. This is true. And also, when you got home from school, and I'm guessing same for you, you did your homework, and then you were out into the street and playing until it was dark, and no one knew where you were.
That's for sure. Hey, and you had to definitely change out of your school clothes and get into your play clothes, because you'd get in big trouble if you ruined the school clothes.
It's true. It's true. So you went to school here, and you went to college here?
I did. I graduated. Go Gators. I graduated from the University of Florida.
Amazing. And what about law school?
A Nova.
Okay. So you're a local...
I came back home.
Awesome. So when you started to practice law, what type of law did you practice?
I did an internship at the state attorney's office, obviously doing criminal law, and got a few jury trials under my belt. And then I started doing civil. I was in the civil practice and litigation. And before getting on the bench, I think I had tried 80 jury trial cases and a dozen or more non-jury trials.
What actually motivated you, though, to get into law? What were you always one of those kids that said, "Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer, save the world," or what was it?
I did want to be a lawyer when I was younger, and then my dad is in construction. So then when I started college, I started taking the architecture and building things and all those type of classes. And then the math got crazy tough. So I said, wait, let's do a quick switch back. And then I started getting involved in the law again. And I was taking law classes at the same time. I took business law in my first year of college and things of that nature. So I was always kind of on the border. Maybe I should have done construction law.
There's some money in that. So how long were you a lawyer before you kind of got that judge bug, and then what motivated you to want to change?
I got the judge bug kind of early on, and even when I was a kid. Remember the sock it to me, here comes the judge. We spent the summer on a shore one time, and I had that sweatshirt. I think maybe it got ingrained in me or something like that. But becoming a judge was something that I aspired to and looked up to, and thought that that has to be like a pinnacle to become a judge. So I always thought about that when practicing law, and tried to be professional and tried to always be prepared. And I was practicing for 15 or 16 years prior to getting on the bench.
Okay, so 16 years. And so when did you actually ascend to the bench?
2003. December of 2003, I got the call from former Governor Jeb Bush, and he said, "You have to promise me one thing: you'll work hard and you'll play hard."
Wow. So 2003, it's been almost 20 years.
Oh my gosh!
You don't plan on retiring anytime soon, do
No,
you?
I can't do that. I can't do that. My daughter is planning and took the LSAT and has admissions out and has got accepted to some law schools. So she's going to law school. So that means I need to continue to work for sure, even harder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is Women's History Month, and that's why you're here. We're recognizing you and some other wonderful judges and lawyers. As you made your way through your career, did you find at all any obstacles being a woman, whether it was when you were a young lawyer or when you first got on the bench?
I have to say that I think I had it easy, and maybe the trailblazers that came before me kind of paved the way. But I practiced with a group of people where we got along really well. We all had each other's backs. We covered for each other, both men and women in the practice. And I had a great mentor, my boss. And after 2 weeks when I started, 2 weeks later, he had me in a non-jury trial, which is almost unheard of in the civil forum. Usually you carry somebody's briefcase for years before you can do that. But I was in a non-jury trial. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks after I started. And then I had a jury trial, which I was the first chair, and he sat in on with me. But it was 3 months after I started.
How'd you do in that trial?
It went well.
Awesome. Amazing. So continuing on that line with women, have you sponsored or mentored young ladies in your career, or for that matter, just folks in general?
Always, every year, since I was appointed to the bench. Every year I have interns that sit with me and sit in the courtroom, both guys and girls. And lots of the thing that I like best is being a mentor, is having the interns and having them continue to contact me after we're finished and letting me know how their lives are going and where they are. I had somebody come by the other day, and he got married. He's had 2 children now, and they just bought another new home in Plantation, and he wanted to come by and show me pictures and tell me everything that he's been doing. And I have interns that text me and tell me what's happening in their lives. And I have one intern now who's working at the state attorney's office, and she's so excited, and she keeps me updated on promotions and things like that. I just love that. I the fact that I want them to be the best that they can be.
So you're definitely one who believes in pay it forward.
Oh, of course, of course.
What would be your message to young women out there, whether they're in high school right now or even younger, or law students or young lawyers that aspire to be like you, reach that pinnacle? And we had talked about it before. You are very well respected, not only here in Broward, but throughout the state. So what's your advice to those people?
Well, my advice, and I'm going to look at the camera for
Yeah,
this.
please.
My advice for everybody in general, and this is some of the things that I'm hearing lately about, oh, do I have to work till 5 o'clock? Oh, do we need to come to the office 5 days a week? I was raised by 2 parents who worked their entire lives, and we had to almost force my mother to retire. And I won't say how old she was when she did retire, but I can tell you that they worked long and hard. And I was always taught that you'd be the first one to the office, you'd be the last one to leave the office, and don't mind hard work, because hard work actually works. And that goes for everything you do. Do your best.
I came from the same kind of parents. You work. and you work.
Oh yeah, and
And hopefully, if you work hard enough, it'll pay off.
true.
It'll pay off. But with that, life balance. We both have families and put in a lot of hours. So, how do you balance that?
You have to find some sort of balance, and if you don't find balance, I mean, the most important thing in your life is really at home. And if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And my husband once said that nobody's going to come, and nobody ever writes on a tombstone, was the hardest worker ever. No, when you pass over, it doesn't matter how hard you work, but it certainly your family's going to remember you. And to me, that's the most important part of your life is family. So we enjoy. We used to carve out time when my daughter was younger, and we would carve out spring break, of course, and then a week during the summer and spend time together. And every time we took vacations, it was always as a family. And my parents would go over to the Bahamas for a week, and with my parents, my daughter, my husband.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit since I have you here. Can you tell me about one of the worst cases, and obviously you're not going to say names of maybe of the type of conduct that you've seen that's happened and how you handled that?
Well, because I've been essentially on the bench for a while now, as you talked about, there has been some horrific conduct. There's lots and tons of good conduct, but I think one of the worst cases that I had was a case in which we took a lunch break, and somebody was caught going through somebody else's exhibits on the lunch break. And in that same trial, one of the parties, the attorneys, contacted a witness that was testifying that morning and contacted the supervisor of that person. And I ended up having to report both issues to the bar.
Wow. Well, I know generally speaking, I know that lawyers conduct themselves at a very high level.
Of course,
but
yes.
There's always that small percentage in any profession of people that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So on a lighter side, if we had a time machine and you could go back into time, who would you break bread with?
My grandmother.
Why?
I think we shared a very special bond from the time I was an infant and growing forward. And when she passed away, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe
Gosh.
that wasn't a lighter note.
No, yeah. Geez. I didn't know my grandparents. I mean, I met them, spent a little time, but very little time. So I think that's wonderful when children have grandparents that they're close with. So
Yeah, my daughter is blessed because she has my parents, and they babysat and took care of her. My husband used to actually take my daughter to work with him in the morning, and then he would drop Rachel off at my parents and my mother, and then my dad would come home in the afternoon because I was in private practice, so my hours were rather crazy. So I spent the evening, and she probably stayed up way later than she should have ever stayed up as a young child. But, you do what you have to do.
absolutely. Judge Carol-Lisa Phillips, any final thoughts?
No, I think this is wonderful, and thank you, Braulio, and I want to say congratulations to all the other women for Women History Month. I don't know who they are, but I congratulate everybody, and for all the women who have come before us, because growing up in their earlier years, I'm certain, and I hear and I know the stories of women being trailblazers and the difficulties that they encountered, made it much easier for us. And my mother worked, my grandmother worked, so we have a strong women work ethic within the family. And also, I want to thank the men out there, because without men pushing us and standing behind us, my husband, stands behind me and helps me. Whatever I want to do, he is 100% behind me. And my father growing up never told me, "You're a girl, you can't do that." My dad was always like, "Yeah, get out there, do whatever, you can do this." He used to make me sit, and he would change the brakes on the car or pull out the radiator, and I'd have to sit there. He'd be like, "One day you're going to have to do this on your own." Little did he know how much the cars would change.
Definitely. Well, Judge Carol-Lisa Phillips, personally, I want to thank you for your kindness, your intelligence, your support, your service to our community. Thank you so much.
Well, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody out there. And I don't even consider it a service. I consider it an honor. It's the folks and the citizens of Broward County and the state of Florida that keep me in this position, and I'm honored to be in the position. So thank you.